All right. All right, this is kind of what we're going over today. Those equations with the radical equations that we've been working on, okay? We're going to start graphing them now. All right? Now, one thing about this is pretty nice is you have a calculator that does pretty much all this work for you, okay? What I'm going to ask of you on your assignment today is you can graph it and just copy the graph down from your calculator, but I also want you to put your input-output table, like your order pairs. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. There's a couple things that you need to be aware of on these functions. The first one is this parent function, okay? Have you guys, are you familiar with parent functions?
Not the term, but I know what it is.
Okay, parent function basically is where you have a type of function or you have an equation that makes a particular line, okay? The first one that you do is in algebra 1 was a straight line, okay? There's a parent function from that, and that's where all other lines stem from. Does that make sense? If you change little things about the equation, then it changes little things about the line. Everybody with me? Okay, so right here, the first one I want you to notice is what's in front of the radical. We treat it like a variable, so it's always understood that I put 1 in front of it. A 1, right? So in this case, is there a positive or a negative in front of that? Okay, so if you have a positive, right, what's going to happen, and that's the only thing that you have in the radical, then your line is always going to be just like that. Okay? The starting point, the minimum we call, write this down. The minimum, okay, is always going to be that point right there. And that's going to be the lowest point. Okay, and I'm going to show you a couple little tricks to find that right really quick. Okay? Now, if you notice here, your line from there, okay, is going to go up, and it's going to continue to keep going up all the way out here. Okay, so this part right here, your end behavior, x keeps increasing. What is y doing? It's increasing also. Is everybody clear on that? Okay, so you need to remember things like that. The domain is going to be start right here, and then it's going to be all numbers that are what? Greater than 0, right? All numbers that are greater than 0. Is everybody with me so far? Okay, and then your range is basically going to be all numbers. If I start here and keep going up, it's going to be all numbers greater than 0. All right, now, sometimes you'll see this, f of x. What does that mean?
Function.
It's just function. It's still a output value, right? And it's the same as, maybe we'll write this down, it's the same as y. It's not any different, it's the same thing. Okay? All right, now, what happens if I throw a negative in front of it? Yeah, what's the graph do though?
Oh.
It just flips across what axis?
Yeah.
The x-axis. Okay, so you'll hear a term called a reflection across the x-axis. Okay, so if the number in front is a negative, okay, which makes it less than what? 0. All right, all it does is flips across the x-axis. Does everybody understand? Okay, now, as A increases, this graph is going to get vertically, it's going to stretch vertically. All right? If A decreases and doesn't go below 0, then this graph does what? It just squeezes down. So the smaller A is, the smaller the number in front, the flatter your line is. Does everybody understand? The higher the number is, then it does what?
Widen.
It expands. It grows vertically like this. Does everybody understand? Okay. So there's some things inside the radical, there's some things inside there Your intercepts, you're going to need to know that. That's basically what is your minimum. Okay? All right, so we have one of these. How do we work it? There's some things that it's going to ask for. The main thing that's going to really want you to determine is what is the domain and the range. Okay? Now, let's start with the domain. Over here on the side, I've put some notes, so you may want to refer back to those. The domain only includes values for which the radicand is what? Non-negative. Okay, so you guys remember what the radicand is? The radicand is this part that's inside. So I'm going to bring it out. Okay? And if it has to be a non-negative number, then it has to be greater than or equal to what? 0. Okay, so that's my inequality that I'm writing right there. Guys with me? Okay, now just get x by itself. Add 2, very good. I'm going to add 2. X is going to be greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so now, what do you suppose my domain is?
2.
It's going to be 2. It's going to be all numbers that are greater than what? 2. So what's my lowest number? What's my lowest x or my lowest input? 2. All right, so the domain is all numbers greater than or equal to 2. That's my domain. Everybody understand? Now, you're also, don't forget, we're going to graph them, right? Okay, so I have to have a point where everything starts. So this is going to start at 2. That's going to be my lowest point. Everybody with me? So that's my x value, that's my y value. All right, so now, when x equals 2, what is the output value going to be? Well, all I have to do here is what? Plug it in. Okay, now, I probably should go back to this real quick. You guys understand what it means right here. The radicand is a non-negative number, because I knew there was some confusion when we did these inequalities. All that means is this right here. If I take 2, and I plug it back into the original equation like that, what's my number underneath the radicand going to be? 0. You see what I'm saying? If I put 3 in there, will 3 work? Will 4 work? So on and so forth, right? Will 1 work?
No, because it'll be negative.
It'll end up being a negative, which gives me a imaginary or a complex number. Do you see how that works? Okay, so it has to start with 2 and then go up. That's what I plug it in. That's what we're trying to. There was a little bit of confusion when we did inequalities last time. All right, but that's all you're doing. Does that make sense? Okay. So now, to find my output value, or to find this y right here, what I want to do now is bring my original, okay, when x is 2, okay, what's my output going to be? You guys with me so far?
Yep.
Okay, so if I put 2 in there, 2 minus 2 is, what's the square root of 0?
0.
Okay, so my output is going to be 0. What do you suppose my range will be? As x increases, what does y do? So it has to be all numbers greater than 0. Okay, so my range is x greater than or equal to 0. Does everybody see how we're finding all that? Pretty easy, right? Okay, work that one real quick. Okay, the 3 in front, right here, does it have anything to do with the domain?
No.
No. It only has something to do with the output, the range, right? Okay. Now, once you find the domain, try to eliminate some answer choices, guys. Okay? Okay, did you guys find the domain? What was the domain? All numbers.
Greater than or equal to.
Right. So the domain, x plus 4 equals, or I'm sorry, x plus 4 greater than or equal to 0, subtract 4. Okay, so can I eliminate some answer choices?
B and D. B and D.
B and D, good. Okay, so now we go, think about this too. What's the number in front, is it positive or negative?
Positive.
It's positive, isn't it? Okay, so now we said earlier, if that's positive, then it's going to be above the x-axis, right? Okay, so all my graphs, my parent graphs, all my graphs are going to look pretty similar to that, right? Okay, so as my x's are increasing, what happens to my y's? They're increasing also. So now I want you to look at this closely. Can I find the answer just based on that information?
Yes.
Which one?
C.
It has to be C, doesn't it? Why does it have to be C?
Because the other is less than or equal to.
Right. These numbers would do what? They'd be going down, wouldn't they? Decreasing. These are the only numbers right here that would actually be increasing. You guys see that? Now, when in doubt, you can always do what?
Okay.
Yeah, you can always check it, right? Okay, so 3, when x is negative 4, gotta just plug it in. Square root of 0,
0.
which equals
0.
0. Okay, so my low point is negative 4 and 0. Okay? Now, one thing I want you to notice, we talk about transformations. Okay, that's the whole reason why we go over parent graphs. Are you with me so far? We start talking about parent graphs. Then we start talking about transformations. Okay, is everybody clear with me? Okay, so here's what I want you to notice more than anything. Really, all you need to find is where my starting point is, right? I mean, if you think about it, because all my graphs are going to look pretty similar. Would you agree with that? Okay, so if I know where to start from, if you notice right here, x is what? Negative 4. That's where, how far left I go. Does everybody understand? Okay, so this number is a positive 4, isn't it? And so can I say that I always go in the opposite direction of the number that is given to me, and that's going to be my x height? Okay, we can say that. All right? What would be my y? What would be my output? What's out here?
Zero.
Nothing. 0. So that ends up being this number right here. Everybody with me so far? Okay, so here's the rule, the key concept. Look at this page right here. Made you like a little cheat sheet here. All right, so if the number in front, which is A, if A is less than 0, which makes it what kind of number? Negative, wouldn't it? If this number is less than 0, what type of number would it be? Negative. Okay, the graph is reflected across the x-axis, right? We just talked about that. Just flips it down. Is everybody with me? Okay, if A is greater than 1, okay, the graph is stretched out vertically. That's what we just said, right? If A is in between 0 and 1, that means the number is lower, but it's not quite goes past negative, right? Then the graph does what? Squashes down, gets flatter. But X still does what? X is still increasing, right? As X increases, Y is still increasing also. It'll only be like little minute pieces. Everybody understand? Okay, so H right here. This means depending on what H is, we move the parent function left or right. So it moves it horizontal. Okay? If it's H units left, if H is a positive number. If it's a negative number, we move it which direction?
Right.
To the right. Okay, if it's positive, we move it that many, whatever that number is, we move it that many squares to the left. Opposite direction. Okay? If K is a positive number, we shift it so many here, but K is my vertical translation. All right? So if it's positive number, I go how many? I'm going to go up that many squares. If it's a negative number, I'm going to go down that many squares. Does everybody understand? Okay. What? Keep that hand and refer back to that. Okay. So graph the function y equals 3 square root of x minus 4 plus 2. Okay, your 3, it's a higher number, right? So this graph is going to stretch vertically, right? It's going to get a little higher, a little bit more of a hump in it. Okay, so the first thing we need to find is our domain. I'm going to take x minus 4, put it greater than or equal to 0, and that's going to end up being what? X is greater than or equal to 4. So that number, blue, goes there. Okay, now to find the range, how do I do that? Well, I mean, really, do I even need to do that? Because what did we just say? If I'm thinking about translations, that's a negative number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the domain would be the opposite of that, right? What's the opposite of negative 4? Okay, so H is a positive 4. That goes there in that first square. What's my K going to be? It's going to be positive 2. So that goes there, and that's where I start. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
It's a terrible lot.
And then my shape is going to go somewhere in this direction, right? Now at this point, what you need to do is take your calculator. You guys got your calculator? Get it out real quick. Okay, so you got your table here. This is what I was talking about on your assignment. When you graph, I want you to put a table. How many values do I need to see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. What are these right here? What do we call these? What is that? That's a point, isn't it? Isn't this an ordered pair? Okay, so that's a point. So I want 5 points. Show me 5 points on the table. Is everybody clear? And then just get ballpark whatever your graph is going to look like. Now to do this, which button do I hit first? Y equals. Okay, that gets me to this window here. Now y of 1, what's this little 1 mean? That's the first equation, right? Because I can do like a system. I can do multiple equations. So my first number is going to be 3. And then I'm going to go second, hit the square root button. Okay, and then alpha, which is this button here. And then minus 4. Now make sure you bring your cursor out. And then you got plus 2. Okay, once you feel like you got your equation in, and all I did is type this equation right here in there. What can I hit now? I hit the graph button. And if you notice my first point, it starts at 4 and 2, looks like. You guys see that? Now how do I know for sure? You're going to have to list some ordered pairs here, right? So to find that, you guys watching? To find that, you go second table, and it gives you your table. Now, one thing I want you to notice right here. See all these numbers right here? What does this mean? Well, I mean, the graph doesn't go to the left, does it? Where's the graph go? So what point does it start to go to the right? For what? See it right here? That's 4, 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how many numbers did I say you needed?
5.
Okay, so I'm going to list these numbers now. Okay, 4, 2 is my first one, then 5. You guys are going to have to help me out. 5, what was the next number? 6, and then 6 point, was it 6 point something?
6 point.
Okay, and then 7. What was it for 7?
Yeah, there's 7.4916.
7 point,
2.
just 2. Just go to the first decimal. And then 8.
8.
8. Okay, now you can, if you want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it goes up, and then what is it going to start to do, guys? It's going to start to do what? Flatten out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6.1, then 7 is 7.2. So about right in there probably. Okay, then 8 and 8.8. 6, 7, 8.
8 is just 8. It's not 8.8.
Just 8?
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be right there. So my graph will go kind of like that. Now, does it have to be spot on my graph?
No.
That's why I'm asking you to do what?
Put it in the blueprint?
That's why I'm asking you to put it like in a double T table. I'm gonna put that so I can see your numbers. All right. Okay, so if my parent graph looks like this, Okay, what happened here? The 3 in front did what to my parent graph?
Expanded it vertically.
Yeah, stretched it there, but then it moved it 4 units that way, right? And then 2 units up. That's where these two numbers came from. You guys with me? Have I confused anybody?
I just don't remember how to do the graph thing.
Go to this one. Let's do this one together. Okay, now you notice what's my. We're going to start with this, and you notice what's in front.
Negative.
So my graph is going to flip
Downward.
over across the x-axis, right? Okay, Kaylin, you with us?
I'm looking
Okay, but you should be having your phone now. That's our rules, classroom rules, right? While I'm instructing. That's what we talked about the other day. Okay, so I'm trying to avoid any problems. All right, I want to make sure that you get this down. That's my job. All right. Okay. But if you're texting on your phone, you're not watching. So my graph is going to flip across the x-axis, right? Hello. Guys with me? Okay, so all I need to do now, if you notice that's a plus 5, so where's my domain start?
-5.
Right, -5, good. I'll put that there, put that there. Okay, then how many units do I need to go down or up? Where's my range going to start? Going to start at, that is -6, good. So now that becomes my first point. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? Now just take the calculator. Okay. Let's go ahead and delete this. Now, when I use negative here, which button do I use? Can I use the minus button or should I use this button down here? Yeah, make sure you use that or it's going to give you syntax. Okay, second, square root, right here. And then go alpha minus, oops, that's wrong, plus 5 and minus 6, graph it. Okay, and then find my table. How high do I need? How high do I go? Yeah, I need to go down to -5, right? Because then I start getting an error. So -4, -7, -3, -7.4, -2, -7.7, -1, -8. Yes, ma'am.
We're getting different numbers, but I don't know.
Let me say it real quick because your decimal may be.
I have this is error.
Mine said error the first time I did it.
Okay, let's check your equation real quick. Okay. So on your 84, if you guys have the 83, okay, come here for a second. Underneath your radical, if you notice in front of the 5, does anybody have a parenthesis there? Does anybody have a parenthesis in front of their 5? Look on the 83.
Yeah, I did. I closed.
Right, so here's what you have to do. You got a parenthesis in front right there. You see that? In front of the X? So you have to close it with a parenthesis.
Okay.
And basically what that means is that the only thing that you have under the radical is X plus 5. And then minus 6, and then graph it. Mm-hmm. Okay, work this one real quick. Now, I should be able to just find the domain and eliminate some answer choices here, right? And you can kind of just look at the equation. It can't be B, can it? Why? Because 3 is what? Positive. Okay, what's my domain? Where does this start? Positive 2, right? So can it be A? So you just eliminated A and B. Can it be C?
No.
Then it has to be what? D. Now you could just plug in the equation if you need to, but I mean, we solved that like in about 5 seconds, just on the translation part, right? Okay, do this one, B. Now, one thing you might want to do on this is there's a negative A, right? Okay, so what happens to my graph?
Down.
It's flipped across the x-axis, so as x increases, what is y doing? Decreasing. Very good. Who said that? Okay, so if it's flipped, as my x gets bigger, my y is getting smaller, right? So if you know that your range or your y starts at -4 here, then all my other y's have to be what? Below that, right? So less than -4. Okay, so can I eliminate a couple answer choices?
You can eliminate C and D.
What about B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other ones? That's less than, that's less than, that's less than, right? Now just do your domain. What's your domain going to be? X is greater than -1. That is right. Now it can't be C because of the positive 4. It can't be D either because of the positive 4. That's pretty simple. If you can understand, if you've got a good understanding of your translations. Okay, now on your paper today, I included the graphs on there, but the only thing I didn't put on there is your tables. Okay, you'll have to do that yourself. Okay? What? Tomorrow.
Just leave them all.
If you get done with it today, you can give it to me early if you want.
Yeah, tonight.